Hey guys, what's going on? It's Canadian Off-Road 4x4 here today. Today, bringing you a quick little video. It's something I've been wanting to kind of do because I was always kind of curious. And it kind of gets brought up every now and again, you know, in terms of the miles per gallon and tire pressure. So, we are doing a whole test here. It's a quick, easy test, I guess you could say. Overinflating your tires. Why would you do that? Well, basically just for the miles per gallon. So, I mean, there's really no other benefits for it other than just to get a little bit more fuel economy for your vehicle. And this goes for any vehicle. So, and how does it actually get you improved fuel economy? Well, if you see my chalk test video, you're making the most contact with the correct pressure on the whole tire. With overinflating it, you're only putting the contact patch in the center of the tire. Therefore, as you're driving, you're creating less resistance on it, and that's all that's contacting the ground is that little patch. So if, say, we did a chalk test and I had it set at like 45 pounds, the center blocks, or only a couple of the blocks in the middle, at most is the middle, would only be contacting the ground. It's beneficial for that, but you got a couple things to worry about. You've got handling to worry about there, and also destroying your tires, basically, if you keep it for a period of time. If you're only doing it for a couple times, not so bad. But if you actually drive with overinflated tires, yes, you are reducing your handling. Rougher ride, actually, too, because you have so much pressure built in, and it's so focused on that center of the tire that it will just ride so rough. Like, it's not good. Key not detected. It's in my pocket. There we go. That's music to my ears. So those are kind of the things for it. This is not really anything to benefit from. This is simply to show you guys the comparison of running high pressure down to normal pressure, or maybe a little bit higher than usual kind of thing there. So I'm gonna go get some fuel, and at the same time I'm gonna go overinflate my tires. I daily my truck around 30 psi on the 255/85/16 Cooper ST Maxes, 10-ply tire. It's a 33-inch by 10-inch tire. So what I'm gonna do is fill them up to about 50 psi. I'm kind of actually scared about this because with no sway bar on and reducing tire contact, I'm probably gonna have a little bit of a scary scenario, but we'll see about that. So I'm gonna compare miles per gallon, handling, and if I can, in some ways, I'll see how the ride quality differs if I notice it. I mean, I'm running on 10-ply tires already, but I would notice if it's gonna be a stiffer ride or not too. So let's get driving, and I'll see you guys in a minute, and then I'll explain exactly what the whole scenario is when I start driving. All right, guys, fueled up, air location. There's a free air station on one gas station, so I went here to fill up because I gotta put about 20 pounds of pressure in. So just for reference, there's my tire gauge. So it's 48 drivers, 52 on the passenger, 49 in the driver's rear, 52 in the passenger rear. But a couple of psi like this is not going to make that much of a difference for comparison. I mean, they're all still around the 50 mark, and they actually probably will warm up a little bit once I hit the highway more. So, but around the 50 mark is good enough to go with. And then I'm going to drop it down about 5 or so psi every time, 5 or 10 maybe, and we'll see what the difference is, kind of thing there. So now what I'm going to do is drive to the one location where I'm going to start the testing, and then when I get on the road, I will explain exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and I'm going to show you guys the route that I'm taking, kind of thing. So give me a couple minutes. All right, guys, so I'm driving now. It's on the steering wheel right now, so I'm just getting on the highway now. And so what I'm doing is simply just testing out if overinflation tire actually makes any difference, I should say, just any difference in terms of miles per gallon. So far, just driving from where I was filling up the tires to the gas station where I'm starting this route, it was actually riding ridiculously rough, but I was also noticing just the way the truck was handling. Like, this is no joke. Like, I felt like loose, like it wasn't on the ground, kind of thing, which makes sense because your tires aren't contacting the ground as much. And being at 50 psi, I have no idea how much contact I'm getting yet. So sorry if this is a little awkward. I'm just doing this so before we start the driving video. But what I'm doing is I'm going to a gas station that's on the edge of the end of the city, kind of thing, and then I'm hitting a straight highway I'm doing probably about a 30-kilometer round trip, so maybe 20 miles, I think, give or take. Basically, I'm just hitting the highway so that we're avoiding all lights and stuff like that. There's like 2 sets of lights I have to go through, so it's very minimal for any idling gas to lose on. So otherwise, this is straight highway driving. The whole test is going to be going there to where I'm going, and then coming back, then filling up, seeing how much fuel I used, and then lower the pressure on the tires and do it again, and then lower the pressure, do it again, and then I'll go down to my regular pressure of 30 some PSI, and that will be the final test of it, and seeing how much it is for me to daily drive on my 30 pounds of pressure versus this 50. But so far I don't like 50. It's kind of scary, actually. I feel really kind of unsafe, especially with no sway bar, if you've seen that other video there. So we're gonna get to some running here. You guys are just gonna pretty much see time lapse of my current fuel economy set at 70 miles an hour, which, keeping in mind, is roughly it's reading about 75 on my ultra gauge. So I'm doing just about 120 some kilometers an hour. So let's get to it. Oh, this is gonna be fun. All right, guys, well, this is it. So you see all the little time-lapse videos there. So just for reference, or a little bit insight on the drive, I only had a downshift one each direction, so you'll see a little bit there. I'm gonna try and edit it as best I can, but there's the one instance where you'll see the truck downshift. It's because there's a little bit of an incline, not very much, but if my memory is serving correctly, when I edit this, I'll know. But I think when I was at 50 PSI on the first run, I don't think it downshifted. I think it held gear, or at least it held gear the longest, but then it downshifted at the very end there, which is kind of normal for this. It's whatever. So, but otherwise, on the lower pressure, it actually downshifted, which is whatever. Like I said, it's a 2-second, just that little bit of incline. It just can't hold it too much there. So another thing is the wind was going north and I was going west. So it was a door wind, so nothing crazy there. So there's no wind to really factor in, but I did have a little bit of a pull on the way back. So whatever, though, it was only like 10 miles an hour, I think. So, you know, very little, which is nice because here it can get really, really, really windy. So as you may see on there too, the temperature dropped a bit after the time of doing this, a couple degrees or whatever. So it got a little cooler. Otherwise, the drive was pretty much the same. Another thing is when I was airing down, I kept the truck running because I needed to see the tire pressure sensors. So you can account for that yourself. I'm not going to go into too much craziness about it. So just keep that in mind with deflating on the last two runs. Other than the first run with the 50 PSI, keep in mind that I had it running for a little bit, and then account for a little bit of traffic lights and stuff because I can't turn right on the one intersection on a red light. So I had to sit there for a bit and whatever else, right? So it's just the little things there, but more or less take everything into account there for the information. And pretty much it's as expected. So I've got the receipts here. We'll start off with the 50 PSI. I did the run or whatever. I have a little bit more miles because I did that little gravel road there for a second. So we did 35 miles. This is calculated too as well on, I've taken pictures of all the odometers every single trip. So, and I times it by 0.08 for the 33-inch tires. So you gotta make sure it's all accurate. And so I got 35.2 miles on this. And it was around the 50 PSI mark, obviously like 53 around. So we'll just kind of, you know, you guys all see that. So you'll know what all the numbers are there. And so around there, I used 6.8 liters worth of fuel, so about 1.6, I think it is, something like that, 1.7 gallons. And that costed me $8.68 Canadian, so like 5 or 6 US, because premium fuel. And that equaled out to about 20.5 miles per gallon for that single trip there. So there's that. My phone's buzzing now. So now with the 44 PSI, we did 34.1 miles, did 7.6 liters. So do the math there, and $9.70. So $1 difference and a liter difference, right? So, or 1.2 liters difference. So, because our price gas here or whatever. And that was 18 miles per gallon. So a little bit different there, but also a little bit different mileage. But that's what you get for running a higher PSI. So, but that's with 44 PSI is what I had on that run. The tires were warm, obviously. So with the 50 PSI, you technically go 54. So going down to what, 10 PSI basically. That's your results there. And then for the last run, we did at 34 PSI, which is roughly what I run, but I just didn't want to go too low because it gets cold here overnight. So I don't want my tires going too low and having the tire light on. So, but I'll adjust it if need to, but 34 is kind of pretty much my average I run. And as a daily, we used 7.9 liters worth of fuel. So 0.4 more than the 44 PSI, and it's 1.2 liters more. So, and that equaled out to $10.15. So that's 45 cents more than 44, and $1.50 on 50 PSI. So not much difference in the dollar value. Obviously the miles per gallon there is a little bit different. At 34.3 miles, so pretty similar to 44 and whatever, we did 17.3 miles per gallon. So obviously it kind of shows itself that higher pressure does give you a little bit better mileage, but you can account for anything. It could have just been simply a draft on a vehicle, because I did pass a few vehicles as well, so keep that in mind. So but it can be the littlest factor. So I mean, that shows a little bit for the tire pressure, but at the same time, 2 miles per gallon is very hard to gamble with. Like, it's not like a huge jump, because think about it, guys, I'm jumping 20 PSI pretty much on, like, it's 20 PSI, because I was at like 53 on the other 2-3 tires. So 20 PSI, and you're getting maybe 2 miles per gallon, maybe. No, it doesn't justify it, because one, I felt unsafe at 50 PSI as it is. It rode really bad. Even for that little bit, I just hated it. I just did not like it at all. And like, unless I'm supposed to go up even higher, but these trucks specifically at 50 PSI, no, you never have to go past that, unless you're maybe towing heavy and you're fully loaded out armor kind of thing. Otherwise, these trucks probably never have to see more than like 40 some PSI. So especially depending on the tire you run too, but these at 10 ply and all that, they're great. So that's the info out there for you guys on that. Personally, like I said, I would never do this. I never will. I mean, just for 20 PSI difference, this is the results I got. I'm not going to go any higher than ever 50, or technically almost 55, because that's quite a bit jump from my normal, because I'm around the 30 mark usually. So that's way too much. So it's a little too scary for my liking, but you guys give it a try for yourself if you want. I do not recommend it, but if you want to do it and wear out your tires, be my guest. Not my tires. I'm not spending $1,000 to $1,500 on tires to get them ruined off in about 2 or 3 years by wearing out the center on them. So definitely not for me. So 2 miles per gallon is not going to kill me. I'll just have to draft vehicles to gain that back if I want to. So hope you guys like this video. Hope it's a little educational. It kind of showed me a little bit there, but it's also, like I said, that's kind of to be expected. So, but like I said, not worth it. So see you later, guys.